What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, we have some bad news. As former two-division world champion, former WBC reigning super featherweight world champion, Mexican superstar boxer, Oscar Valdez, who previously just lost his unification bout with undefeated two-division world champion, now unified super featherweight WBC, WBO world champion, superstar boxer Shakur Stevenson. With that said, Oscar Valdez is now pointing to Shakur Stevenson's size. Okay, and the fact that Shakur Stevenson initially didn't make weight when he stepped on the scale, he had to strip down. So Oscar Valdez, he's saying that he felt like he fought a guy who's two weight classes bigger than he was, and that he hit Shakur Stevenson with everything he had, and Shakur Stevenson didn't budge. He was simply too big, and this is a lesson learned. Okay, Oscar Valdez is now 30 wins, one loss, no draws, 23 big wins by way of knockout. Oscar Valdez is 31 years of age. He is 5'5" with a 66-inch arm reach. Shakur Stevenson got a 12-round unanimous decision in which he dominated Oscar Valdez with his skills. He's now 18 wins, no loss, and no draw. 9 wins by way of knockout. 24 years of age, 5'7" with a 68-inch arm reach. With that said, it was a skill battle. It had nothing to do with size and strength. Shakur Stevenson beat Oscar Valdez on the outside. Yes, Shakur Stevenson is naturally taller than Oscar Valdez, and he has a longer arm reach than Oscar Valdez. But Oscar Valdez is saying that, he struggled with Shakur Stevenson because of his size. Well, contrary to popular belief, here we're going to debunk this, okay? Oscar Valdez, he made his debut at super featherweight, 130, when he took on former reigning WBC super featherweight world champion, Mexican superstar boxer, Miguel Berchelt, who was at the time, Miguel Berchelt was 38 wins, 1 loss, no draws, 34 big wins by way of knockout. And guess what? Miguel Berchelt is bigger than Shakur Stevenson at 5'8" with a 72-inch arm reach, okay? And in the ring, Miguel Berchelt, he rehydrated to about the same thing as Shakur Stevenson. And he's a bigger puncher, okay? It had nothing to do with the size. It had everything to do with the skill, okay? Miguel Berchelt is a flat-footed, come-forward pressure fighter who Oscar Valdez can use his skill set, his athletic ability, because he has an athletic advantage over Miguel Berchelt, okay? So Miguel Berchelt is taller than Shakur Stevenson, or about the same height, longer arm reach, and he's just a physically, naturally bigger guy. Shakur Stevenson just moved up from 126 to 130 just 2 fights ago. He had 1 fight at 130, was against Jamel Herring, former WBO super featherweight world champion, okay? So with that said, Oscar Valdez pointing to Shakur Stevenson's size as a reason as to why he lost completely is debunked, because you just fought Miguel Berchelt, who came in just as big as Shakur Stevenson, if not bigger, and he's the same height with a longer arm reach, okay? And naturally a more physically imposing guy. He has more power than Shakur Stevenson, okay? Shakur Stevenson, he fought Jamel Herring, okay? Get this, Jamel Herring has a wiry frame. He's 23 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw, no draws, 11 wins by way of knockout. But Jamel Herring, 5'10" with a 72-inch arm reach. Much taller, much more rangy, much more bigger guy than Shakur Stevenson, who made his debut at 130 against Jamel Herring, the champion at 130, okay? So the fact that he's saying that, that Shakur Stevenson was just too big, and every time he hit him with everything he had, but Shakur Stevenson wasn't going to budge. He wasn't budging. And so this is a lesson learned to Oscar Valdez, okay? So he stated that this is a lesson learned. I'll be more cautious in my choice of opponents moving forward. But you fought a bigger guy, Miguel Berchelt, who's a bigger puncher, okay? He has more knockouts than Shakur Stevenson had fights. And Shakur Stevenson didn't impose his size on Oscar Valdez. He imposed his skill set on Oscar Valdez. He outboxed Oscar Valdez from the outside. Had nothing to do with his size. And Shakur Stevenson is not even a big puncher with only 9 knockouts in 18 fights. And Oscar Valdez is 7 years his senior. So he has his man strength for sure over Shakur Stevenson, okay? He brutally knocked out Miguel Berchelt, who's the bigger, stronger, bigger puncher. And he had no problems with his size. Why? because he was the victor. Okay, so to say that he struggled with Shakur Stevenson because of his size and that he hit him with everything, but Shakur Stevenson wasn't budging. Well, you didn't hit Shakur Stevenson very much. You hit Miguel Bichelle clean and often, and that's why he was knocked out. You never really truly hit Shakur Stevenson very clean. A few straight right hands every now and then. You didn't land any hooks on Shakur Stevenson, maybe a few to the body, if that. Okay, it was a skill set battle, and you lost the skill set battle. Had nothing to do with the size, okay? But this goes back to what I told you guys. I told you guys that after the fight, that everybody was going to say that Shakur Stevenson was too big for Oscar Valdez and he needs to move up in weight. I told you that was going to be the built-in excuse as to why Oscar Valdez lost the fight. I didn't expect Oscar Valdez himself to say this, but Oscar Valdez himself stated. I told you that the fans was going to say that Shakur Stevenson was too big for Oscar Valdez. And the fans are now, Oscar Valdez has just given validation to the fans claiming that Shakur Stevenson is too big and needs to move up in weight. Okay, that's not the case. Shakur Stevenson is not a big 130 pounder. Okay, he's 5'8" with a 68-inch arm reach. Okay, he's 2 inches taller than Vasil High-Tech Lomachenko, who fights at 135. Okay, he has the same arm reach, slightly longer than Vasil Lomachenko. He's not much bigger than Oscar Valdez's last opponent before this. Okay, now I'm gonna give you some more insight to Oscar Valdez. Let me debunk this notion even further. Okay, so I just told you about Miguel Bichelle. Let's look at Robson Conceição. Right, he is 5'10.5" with a 70-inch arm reach. Okay, he went into the fight with 17 wins, 16 wins, no losses, 1 draw, no draws, 8 wins by way of knockout. Okay, he rehydrated bigger than Shakur Stevenson, Olympic gold medalist, 5'10.5" with a 70-inch arm reach. He's much bigger than Shakur Stevenson. Okay, and because he got the nod, he struggled in that fight with Robson Conceição. Right? He struggled in that fight because he's a pure boxer. Okay, so with that said, you fought Robson Conceição, who's much bigger than you, who's much bigger than Shakur Stevenson. You fought Miguel Bichelle, who's bigger than Shakur Stevenson, and just is a more physically imposing guy. You look at Shakur Stevenson and you look at Miguel Bichelle, okay? Their size, their physical size, okay? Miguel Bichelle just moved up in weight because he's much bigger, okay? So that lets you know everything you need to know. So with that said, Oscar Valdez is using this as an excuse as to why he got dominated in the fight, barely won a round or two in the fight, and it had nothing to do with Shakur Stevenson's size, everything to do with Shakur Stevenson's skill set and his ability to box and use distance and timing and counterpunch. He was physically faster than Oscar Valdez. He had faster feet than Oscar Valdez, and he's not a bigger puncher than Oscar Valdez. So it had nothing to do with size. His counterpunch ability, his jab, his arm reach. He knows how to control the pace of the fight. He knows how to control the distance, and that's what won him the fight, not his physical strength, okay, and his size. So Oscar Valdez saying that I hit him with everything I had and he wouldn't even budge. Well, you barely touched him, okay? You barely grazed him the entire fight. And the reason that was, it wasn't to do with his size. It was to do with his elusiveness, okay? You were missing your punches, okay? You barely landed any punches on Shakur Stevenson. He has the highest defensive hit to not getting hit ratio in the sport of boxing currently today, ranking him as the best defensive fighter in the sport of boxing. So that's what won Shakur Stevenson the fight. You barely put a glove on Shakur Stevenson. He was elusive. He's difficult to fight. He's slick. He could counterpunch. He's a better athlete, and that's what won him the fight. Not the fact that you was hitting him with everything you had, everything but the kitchen sink, and he wasn't budging. I told you guys this excuse was coming, and right on cue, here you have Oscar Valdez claiming that Shakur Stevenson was just too big for him, okay? I told you guys that this was going to be the excuse. And the fact that Shakur Stevenson had to strip down to make weight even enticed the fans and Oscar Valdez even more. Not to mention, you have guys like Sean Porter who had to strip down, had the one-time Sean Porter who's always in shape, who's at 5'6", 5'7", with a 67, 68-inch arm reach, fighting at 147. Not the biggest welterweight. You clearly see Danny Garcia is bigger than him. Keith Thurman's bigger than him. Errol Spence is bigger than him. Terrence Crawford is bigger than him. Kell Brook is bigger than him. And guess what? Sean Porter, to make weight, he had to cut his hair to make 147. So that didn't play a part. Skills play the bills, period. So that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.